Okay, in 3.1, we're looking at the beginning of the cells. So, like, what all goes into it. And so one of the key things is what's known as the cell theory. So the cell theory grew out of work of many scientists and improvements in the microscope. So each new idea that came up or added on to that cell theory was because of what scientists had ended up adding on because of basically getting better equipment and being able to see more. So many scientists ended up contributing to the theory. The first two were Hooke and Leeuwenhoek. Then you had Schleiden, Schwann, Virchow. So all of those individuals ended up helping speed up this process. So, uh, like I said, as more was learned about cells, as the microscopes improved. So, Hooke was the first one. He ended up taking a slice of cork and looking at it underneath the microscope and saw that it was looked like little compartments in a monastery or little rooms in a monastery, and the rooms in a monastery are called cells, and so that's where the term cells came from. Leeuwenhoek ended up looking at pond water, and he ended up looking at uh, a swab from his cheek, and he ended up seeing things moving around, and he called them animalcules. So we can be thankful that they're not called animalcules and that they're called cells. So that was uh, the first two in the process. So there ended up becoming a cell theory, and that is, again, a theory is going to be a unifying concept in biology. So early studies led to the development of the cell theory. So the cell theory has three main principles. First, all organisms are made of cells. So all living things are made of cells. Next is all cells come from pre-existing cells, or all cells are produced by other living cells. And you can see some cells going through mitosis right there on the screen. And then the final one of the three is the cell is the most basic unit of life, or unit of structure and function in living things. So the cell is the basic unit of structure and function. Again, all cells come from existing cells, and all living things are made of cells. So prokaryotic cells are going to lack a nucleus and a lot of internal structures that you'd end up finding in eukaryotic cells. So there's really two types of cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So all cells, though, share certain characteristics with each other. So cells all tend to be microscopic. There's few exceptions to that. All cells are enclosed by a membrane, and that can be seen right over here. You can see that you've got the cell membrane outside that bacteria. And then all cells are filled with cytoplasm, which is the fluid that is on the inside of the cell. So like I said, there's two types of cells. You've got eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Eukaryotic cells, they're going to have a nucleus. Eu means true, karyote means kernel. So it's a true spot on the inside. So it is going to be ones with a nucleus. Another thing with eukaryotes is if you look at this picture over here, you can see that there are lots of other little structures in there, and those are all going to have membranes surrounding them as well. So they're going to have lots of membrane-bound organelles. Prokaryotes, they do not have membrane-bound organelles like what I was just saying. Prokaryote cells, again, when we talk about prokaryotes are down here at the bottom. You can see down there at the bottom that there is no nucleus in that cell. All of the DNA, all the genetic information are just sort of scattered within that cell. So prokaryotes are also not going to have membrane-bound organelles. So those are the two sort of key differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes: the nucleus and the membrane-bound organelles. So that is the end of the notes for section 1.